Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to this next installment in my Project 5 Wears series. I'm going to link my introduction to the Project 5 Wears videos as usual up in the cards for you to check out, because I'm not going to give a very extended introduction as to what this video entails, but basically I'm going to, in a descriptive manner, tell you how I created 5 different looks with the Colourpop Good Sport palette. In case you haven't seen this palette, this is what it looks like. It's a very interesting color story, a very unique take on color combination from Colourpop, and it is actually my first try ever of their pressed eyeshadow formula. Something else very exciting that I would like to announce with this is that I'm doing this Project 5 Wears in collaboration with Mia from Mia's Virtual Vanity. I'm going to link both her video and her channel in the description box below for you, so you should check it out. So with this video you're basically getting not 5 but actually 10 looks with this palette. This is my first collaboration in the Project 5 Wear series, but by no means it will be the last one, and it also fulfills another desire that I had to have a collaborative video with Mia, because I recently discovered that she has her own channel. She's been following me on Instagram for a while, but I didn't really know she has her own channel. And I recently found that out, and I've really been enjoying watching her videos. Mia does a lot of types of videos. She does the Will I Buy It series, she does 3 looks 1 palette sort of things, she does reviews, she does a lot of commentary types of videos, and she's the type of person that will tell you things straight as they are, into your face, without any filters. And I think that's one of the reasons I like her so much, because she makes me think of me, because I would tell things straight as they are without sugarcoating them. Mia and I share a loving sense of humor of our respective home countries, because they are the bordering countries of Bulgaria, where I come from, and Romania, where she comes from. They're both Eastern European former communist countries. I'm not going to say much more than that, because I feel like unless you come from these kind of countries, you're probably not going to understand the humor and why it's funny. It's like a funny, not funny kind of situation. Anyway, what I really enjoy about Mia's makeup style is that she is one of those people that has the talent to apply eyeshadow in like a very subtle, very ethereal way, something that I do not have the talent to do. Like, my looks are always very like punchy, and I always like to pack on color, and I feel like she has that talent to create colorful but like very ethereal looks, and I always am jealous of people who can do that, because for some reason I can't. I hope that you're going to enjoy the 5 looks that I created for you. Don't forget to check out the 5 looks that Mia has created for you. Thank you so much for Mia for agreeing to collaborate with me on this video. I really appreciate it, and I really hope this is not going to be our last collaboration. And with this I'm going to cut down the ramblings and just leave you with the 5 looks. Let's pretend like my sweater totally isn't a mismatch for this makeup look, and just focus on the Colourpop Good Sport palette. This was coincidentally also the very first time that I was trying this palette, which is why this look turned out really colorful, because I wanted to try as many of the shades as possible. And I was particularly interested in this orchid purple shade here, the mustard yellow, they're both mattes by the way. I really wanted to try this yellowy gold shade here, and obviously I wanted to somehow incorporate the beautiful olive green shade, because this shade was honestly one of the reasons that I bought the palette, and one of the first shades that immediately attracted my attention in here. So let me tell you what I did and share a little bit the experience that I had as a first impression of this eyeshadow palette. I have to say I'm first of all really impressed by the matte eyeshadows, because I feel like they applied quite pigmented, they layered over top of each other really well, and they blended out really nicely. The formula feels very soft, and it doesn't feel powdery at all. So I started off with this orchid purple shade here, and I kind of applied it in the outer part of my eye and in the crease, and I blended it up quite high. And then I took this mustardy matte shade here. I did not use any sort of like concealer or sticky base, which would be better if I really wanted this shade to pop on my lid, but I basically just applied it all over my lid and like in the inner part of my crease to meet up with the purple. Then I went in with this sort of deeper purple here to deepen up the orchid shade, and I was very pleasantly surprised at how well this shade layered over top of the other purple. There was no patchiness, there was no like lifting up of the color, it just applied right on. It slightly deepened that orchid shade, did the job just fine. And then, oh yeah, and then we come to this yellowy gold shade here. So I applied a little bit of glitter glue, and I applied this shade pretty much all over my moving lid, and I only left the tear duct area free. I put this champagne shade in my inner corner, which was like the obvious boring choice, and then I winged the liner. And oh yeah, let me show you what I did. Just as a little detail to my wing liner, I did use my Urban Decay Midnight Cowboy glitter liner, and I applied like a little detail in the inner part of my wing, just for a little bit of bling bling. Nothing too conspicuous, just a little bit of glitter. Then for my lower lash line, I went in with this shade, which I find very difficult to describe. It looks like a dark green, grey, olive sort of shade. It really looks super weird. It almost looks like mud, but I feel like it has slight green tones to it, and I really like it. So I applied that shade a little bit more towards like the outer part of my lower lash line. Then in my waterline and towards the inner part, I applied the beautiful olive metallic green shade. I'm definitely looking forward to using that shade once on my eyelids, but I just wanted to kind of incorporate it in the look today because I was really curious to try it. On my lips, I kind of wanted to match what was going on my eyes, especially with the purples, and because it's super cold outside and my lips are really dry and like sort of flaking in the inner part, I decided to go for a tinted lip balm, and I chose for my lip balm, lip fetish, what are these called again? Christ, I can never remember the names. The Lip Fetish Sheer Color Balm in the shade Dark Devotion, which looks like this, and it's like a purplish orchid tinged sheer lip balm. And I kind of wanted something that's a little bit, first of all, easier to wear in terms of a color, but also like a very nice moisturizing formula because of the weather and how my lips are feeling right now. And I also wanted it to kind of match the purple that's going on my eyes, and I feel like this part looks very well and put together, but it totally doesn't fit with what's going on here because this is a very cool toned purple. Normally I don't fuck up like that, but today I really fucked up. I have to say, every time I dig into this palette, I'm so surprised at how much I really enjoyed. I don't know why maybe I had set my expectations for the eyeshadow formula of Colourpop very low, and I don't know why, because their Super Shock eyeshadows are so beautiful and so unique and such good quality, and I don't really know why. Maybe because they're so reasonably priced, I figured that there must be some sort of a trade-off quality-wise, but it seems more like the trade-off is the size of the pans, because the size of the size of the pans is relatively small compared to a lot of eyeshadow palettes, even compared to Juvia's Place palettes, which are just as reasonably priced. Yeah, I don't know. Apparently you can make reasonably priced eyeshadows with great quality. Besides the point. So for today's look, I wanted to a little bit mirror what's going on with my clothes. I'm wearing this really cute dress with like stripes of like mid-tone blue and this like rusty browny camel sort of color. So I wanted to do something like with orange and blue, because orange and blue, complementary colors, color wheel, they always look beautiful when you put them together. You can clearly see that on my lower lash line I'm not wearing the Good Sport palette because there is no blue shade in here, but I did use this mostly for my like upper lid and the inner corner. So let me just tell you, it's super simple what I did. So I went in with the mustard shade as my transition shade, then I deepened things up and I kind of applied that also a little bit through my crease, this deeper orangey color. Honestly, it looks, I don't know whether you can tell, this looks a bit more brown toned, but when you put it on your eyelid, it really pulls off much more orange, like a deep pumpkin orange type of color, which is really nice because I'd take an orange over a brown any day. And then I applied this shade all over my lid over glitter glue. Now this shade is a very interesting shade and probably one of the most special shades in this eyeshadow palette. It is this gorgeous orange with like blue and silvery sparkles in it. And when I saw this color, I immediately had to think of one of my favorite diamond dusts from Darling Girl, which is called Koi. And Koi, I think, still has more sparkle to it, but this comes very close to it, and it just makes my heart sing every time I see one of the mainstream brands putting out an eyeshadow which reminds me of some of my favorite indie eyeshadows that I have in a loose form. I just feel like it's so nice when mainstream companies are catching up on the more like special, more unique shades that indie companies were primarily known for. Again, besides the topic. So I put this shade all over my lid over glitter glue so that the sparkle can stay. Then towards the inner corner I went in with the beautiful intense like yellowy gold type of shade, and then in my very inner corner I applied the champagne shade. And this is pretty much where I ended with the eyeshadows from the Good Sport palette, because for my lower lash line I actually used one of my Kiko long lasting eyeshadow sticks. This one is in the shade 31. 31 is a gorgeous cornflower blue with a little bit of like a copper duochrome to it. It is absolutely stunning. On my lips I am wearing again, well again, probably you'll see it in other videos, that's why I'm saying again, but I'm wearing the H&M lipstick, cream lipstick in the shade Redwood. Oh, the ways in which I love this lipstick, it is so beautiful. First of all, the cream formula, the cream lipstick formula of H&M, maybe one of my favorite formulas of lipstick of all time. It is so comfortable, so creamy, it looks so luscious on your lips. True, it's not super long lasting, but let me throw in a little but there. If you are willing to go the extra mile and put prep and prime, oh, I can't talk. If you're willing to put MAC prep and prime underneath it, it does extend quite a bit the life of this lipstick. So that's what I do, especially if I'm going out like for a long time, I'm going to work in a bit, so I would prefer if the lipstick stays a bit more put throughout the day. So I did put the MAC prep and prime base. But the color of this lipstick is just so beautiful. I've never heard anyone talk about this lipstick, even the few people that actually talk about the lipsticks of H&M Beauty. I just love this one so much. It has these delicious, beautiful, warm terracotta tones to it, and I love me a terracotta toned lipstick. So I kind of constructed this look in a way that I wanted to have the upper lash like really green and like very olive green based, and then I applied this sort of sickly looking berry color on my lower lash line just to make sure that my outside reflects how I feel on the inside a little bit better. We've been plagued by the flu around this household. My husband got sick, then the baby got sick, and then I got sick, and since I had to take care of the baby, I didn't really have time to properly get sick, so now I feel really shitty. So, reflected in my eye look with this beautiful berry lower lash line, I applied this yellowy shade here towards the inner part of my crease just using a fluffy brush. Then I went into this warm toned transition sort of shade towards the outer part of my crease, and I applied it more like the upper part of the crease, because you can see how much like space I have here. I really need to apply quite a bit of transition colors to make the crease sort of work for me. Then I applied this super dark, I want to say like a deep olive green shade in the outer part of the eye and like a bit through the crease, but mostly tried to concentrate it like in the very outer V and then pull it out a little bit. This thing I've been doing lately, trying to like pull out my eye, especially when I'm not doing a winged liner, which I've been really lazy about lately. And then comes a little bit of a cheat, because in the outer part of the lid what you see is not a part of the Good Sport palette. It is actually one of the Super Shock eyeshadows from Colourpop. This one is in the shade Hammered. It's a really beautiful deep olive green with a bunch of beautiful glittery particles in it. I know it's a cheat, I'm using something that's not in the palette, but honestly I really wanted to use this shade today, and I wanted to combine it with the Good Sport palette because I felt like it would pair really well. Then I dipped back into the Good Sport palette and I applied the beautiful intense metallic olivey green shade over here towards the inner part of my lid, like all the way towards the inner corner, and then just a tiny smidge of this champagne shade is right here in my in the inner part of my eye, but like a smidge, really. Most of it is the green shade. Then on my lower lash line I went for a combination of this berry shade here and this deeper purpley berry shade, and that's what you see smoked out on my lower lash line. Then just to brighten up the situation a little bit and give a bit of sparkle to the look, because if you are new around my channel and you don't know, I have a thing for glitter. I applied the Heavy Metal glitter liner from Urban Decay in the shade Midnight Cowboy. It's something I do very often, just apply this here towards the tear duct and like the inner part of my lower lash line. I feel like it always brightens up the look. For the lips I tried sticking with Colourpop, well I didn't try, I stuck with Colourpop, so I applied the, what are these called again? I don't know, the cream lipstick formula, not the matte formula, but the cream formula in the bullet lipsticks. This shade is Ghosted, and it's a beautiful like berry shade. I kind of wanted to stick with the berries for the lips. I'm very sad to say I saw yesterday on the Colourpop website when I was ordering my Luck palette that this lipstick is being discontinued. So currently it's in sale. Unfortunately, it's being discontinued because I think it's such a beautiful and unique color, and I can't believe that they're discontinuing it. I'm not entirely convinced that I like this look, but to be honest with you, given the direction it was taking into like a complete hot mess in the very beginning, I think it turned out not too bad in the end, and I think I was able to somewhat salvage it. But let me tell you what the original idea was. So the original idea was super simple. I just wanted to put this shade towards like most of the lid and leave the inner corner free so that I can put this shade, and then I wanted to put a little bit of glitter in the center just to marry the very matte texture of this purple shade with the super metallic foil texture of the lime green shade. And then on the lower lash line I wanted to do something with these sort of olive type of greens. That is more or less what happened in the end, but not quite. So I started by applying this aubergine, more muted sort of purple in my crease and above my crease, just as a transition shade, because I didn't want to go straight into the super vibrant magenta purple shade. I just wanted to have something a little more muted in my crease. Then I took a fluffy brush and I put this through my crease as well as more or less 2/3 of the way in on my eyelid. And I hesitated a little bit whether I should put some sort of a base underneath, because it is a matte shadow. It is a really matte shade and it applied really well. It seemed to stick to the eyeshadow primer really well, but I don't know how that would really go during the course of the day, whether it would fade or not. So I think in retrospect, if I were to do this look again, probably I would lay down like some sort of a base, like either a white base or some sort of like a cream eyeshadow underneath, so it has something to stick to and it would stay there the whole day. Anyway, I didn't do that because the intention was that I'm going to put glitter over top of the center of the lid, where I would be the most afraid that the shadow would fade. Then I applied a little bit of glitter glue and I went into this metallic foil shade, and that's where I saw that things were starting to go wrong already, because obviously when you put something super matte and something very foiled and metallic, it looks a bit weird. Like the two textures just don't look very well together. So then I thought, okay, now it's time for the glitter. So I pulled out the glitter that I had in mind, and that is the shade Catcall from Urban Decay. It's a gorgeous, I don't know, like a rosy pink, like some sort of a cool toned rosy pink color. I don't know, it looks like this. It's a really beautiful shade. I don't use it all that often because I can't always come up with looks that I can incorporate it with, but I figured it would look really nice with this look because it would be like the pinkier transition, let's say, between the lime green and the purple. And then I laid it on, and of course, what happens very often if you put something that has a little bit of like a liquid base to it over top of a matte eyeshadow, it melts the shadow underneath, it starts to look weird, it starts to look patchy. It was turning into a hot mess and I was this close to actually removing the makeup, but then I decided to try to salvage it. Which is, you know, something that you should consider when you're doing your makeup. Don't just take it off, just try to find a way to salvage it somehow. And then I figured, why not put this champagne shade in the middle of the lid just to cover up where I fucked up with the glitter. So I covered the glitter with that shade, and because it was already kind of wet, it applied very metallic, and I thought, okay, this is already starting to look a little bit better. But then I was still missing the glitter, so I decided, you know what, over a metallic shade the glitter should look just fine, and it will give that champagne shade a little bit of like a pink hue, which I would prefer to have instead of the stark champagne. So then I did apply Catcall over top of the center of the lid, and I feel like it did give a little bit of a pink hue, and I do like how it turned out. I didn't really mess with the inner corner much. That turned out fine because this lime green metallic shade is really beautiful with the press. It applies really easily, so that gave me no issues whatsoever. Then on the lower lash line, I'm actually really pleased with how it turned out, and I think I'm going to redo this, but on my lid, because I want to see how it looks like on the lid. So I used my Kiko Long Lasting Eyeshadow in the shade 46. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous one. I have talked about this shade before. It's a pinky purpley with an olive green base to it, and I thought it would look really beautiful as a base for the olivey toned shades in the Good Sport palette. So then I applied it in my waterline, and I didn't really apply it all that much in on my lower lash line, just mostly on my waterline. And then I went over top of it with this metallic shade here, and I think the two made such a beautiful combo. I would actually really like to see how that looks on the lid. So I think I'm going to do that for my last look. And then I applied the darker matte olivey, really dark olivey green shade on my lower lash line, and I connected it with the purple. On my lips I decided to stick with the magenta purpley shades, and I pulled out Bittersweet from Urban Decay. It is one of my favorite lipsticks from them because the formula of this lipstick is absolutely outstanding. It's such a creamy, beautiful lipstick, and it wears really nicely, it's really comfortable, and as you can see it's almost an exact match for that magenta purple shade here in the Good Sport palette. Alright you guys, last look for this Project 5 Wears video with the Good Sport palette from Colourpop. Like I said in my previous look, I really wanted to try that Kiko eyeshadow stick as a base for this really weird looking color that I don't really know how to describe. I feel like it has some green tones to it, but it looks like a very dirty olive green sort of color. What I did is I started off with this sort of orangey, peachy matte color as a transition through my crease, and like mostly above my crease because I have a lot of crease space, so I need to put multiple colors always in my crease. So I started off with this color in my crease, then I went in with the dark matte dirty olive green sort of color in my outer corner, and I tried to wing out the shape because, in case you have noticed or not, I haven't been wearing much eyeliner lately. The reason is my eyes have been extremely watery. I can barely keep my inner corners and outer corners in place, and if I put eyeliner it gets even worse, so I don't want to aggravate the situation. Because basically if I put eyeliner on this eye, especially within 2 hours, most of the eyeliner will be gone and it looks really strange, so I'd rather just not wear eyeliner for as long as my eye is so watery. And then I took the Kiko eyeshadow stick, the one that I mentioned in my previous look, also the shade 46. It's one of their new colors, so luckily it is still available. It is an absolutely gorgeous color. It has that same sort of like dirty olive green sort of base to it, and it's packed with pinky purpley sparkles. I do really enjoy using this eyeshadow stick as a base for a lot of other colors, and I particularly wanted to try it with this color here because the two have sort of like a similar base tone to them, and I thought if I cover up the Kiko eyeshadow stick with this color I will still see a little bit of those pinky purpley sparkles poking through, but I will also see this color still, so it will make this color just a tad more interesting. Then in the inner corner I applied this yellow goldish green type of shade. Then on my lower lash line I went in with this mustardy yellow shade, and then I applied a little bit of the green towards the outer part of the eye and just like closer to the lash line. Then I think, oh yeah, for the waterline I actually used another Colourpop product that I really enjoy, and this is one of their cream gel liners. This one is in the shade Punch. This is a really beautiful, very unique shade of eyeliner that you're not going to find in a lot of brands. It's a beautiful sun yellow color, and I have to say I'm always very impressed with how long these cream gel liners from Colourpop stay in your waterline. To make the look just a little bit more interesting, I decided that on my lower lash line, instead of putting mascara, I'm just going to put one of my NYX Vivid Brights, and this is the shade Vivid Escape. It's a beautiful chartreuse lime sort of green, so I just kind of painted on my lower lashes a little bit as a mascara just to give the look a little bit more of an interesting touch to it, because otherwise it's a fairly subdued look. On my lips I'm wearing something super easy. I didn't really feel like actually wearing a lipstick, so I'm wearing my Pat McGrath Lip Fetish Balm in the shade Flash 6. It is a beautiful terracotta red copper kind of color, and it looks great with a lot of looks. It's very comfortable to wear, and I try to use it as often as I can because it's in my project pan. And with this I would like to conclude this Project 5 Wears video, and I would like to give you my final thoughts on the Colourpop Good Sport palette. This is the first eyeshadow palette that I ever tried from Colourpop. They've been releasing palettes for a really long time, and I heard from a lot of people that the quality of these palettes is really good, but none of the color stories ever really spoke to me enough for me to make the effort to order it and try the formula. I don't also have any of their like pressed single eyeshadows. I've never tried anything eyeshadow wise besides the Super Chalk shadows. So this was my very first experience with their pressed eyeshadow formula, and I must say it was a very positive one. I think their metallic eyeshadow formula is very nice. It's very smooth, it's very creamy, it applies really easily. It very much makes me think of the Juvia's Place formula. Their mattes are also really beautiful quality. They are pigmented, they apply really well, they blend out. They are a bit more powdery than, for instance, Juvia's Place mattes, but they're still a very nice formula. They're nor too crumbly and powdery, nor too hard pressed. So they're somewhere in that golden middle where I feel like most people would be comfortable with. I really like the color story of this palette. I think this palette has a very unique color story, something that I haven't seen any other brand do. Like the combination of the golds, the olive toned greens, the oranges, the purpley shades over here. It's a very unique take on color story, and I really appreciate that. I would also like to pay my compliments to Colourpop for the pen sizes of these eyeshadows. They're fairly on the smaller side, which I personally view as an advantage. As someone who has a lot of eyeshadow palettes, I really don't need the pens to be huge. The price of this eyeshadow palette is also very reasonable. I hope you enjoyed the looks that I created for you, and I would like to thank Mia again for agreeing to collaborate with me, and I can't wait to see what kind of looks she has created for you. I'm sure she has created a variety of different and beautiful looks for you to enjoy. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, the sorts, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!